you Red Baron.
Hi guys, and welcome to part 3 of this build series. Well, it's time to get some paint on this kit, which means, you guessed it, research. Key to successfully modelling a real life subject is your references, and I'll quickly run through some of mine. Richthofen's 3-winged beast is best remembered for being an all-red affair, but that's not strictly accurate. He flew at least 2 different serialised DR.1s that we can prove, and the second plane had at least 3 different paint schemes. This version, all red with the Maltese style crosses, is the most famous. Serial 42517, which is the same aircraft that I'm going to build. However, I will reconstruct the last incarnation as seen here, which is the aircraft and paint scheme that he ultimately met his fate in on April the 21st, 1918. So let's have a look at some of the surviving pieces of this aircraft and work out how this plane was painted. Here we have one of the cross panels removed from the side of the fuselage. This relic is actually held in the Australian War Memorial and is very well documented. Note how Richthofen's ground crew overpainted the previous cross to now show the straight-sided version. On the reverse we can see several distinct paint layers. So first of all we notice the cotton linen fabric which covered the aircraft. It's been doped with an off-white doping solution, and that solution will pull the linen tight over the airframe and set a base for subsequent layers of paint. The next visible layer is the factory applied green and grey striped camouflage. This is a unique and distinct pattern used on late war German aircraft. The third layer is a rose coloured red. It would have been brighter when first applied, but red pigments are weak and would have faded quite quickly. This may well have been the reason for the application of the fourth layer, a strong scarlet red. It almost looks pink here, but I suspect that might be due to the nature of the paint itself, being an oil-based emulsion. The one area that I was uncertain of was the underwing and fuselage areas. Now we do know that these areas had a factory applied light blue over the doped linen, and then I was lucky. A subscriber emailed me these images of a souvenir that one of his family members had taken at the crash site. This evidence of the factory applied blue paint and of the brush applied red oil paint demonstrates without question what was on these areas. Okay, back to the model itself. I can now address the well-known flaw with this kit, the wings. All 3 are warped. In fact, no, they're bowed. After priming in Tamiya light grey and applying a light buff coat of Tamiya flat white and buff to simulate the doping solution, I sprayed the underside blue sections. This was done using Tamiya flat white and Tamiya sky blue thinned with water. That's right, water. Actually, all the base colour paints are going to be Tamiya hybrids that have been thinned with water to about a 60% paint to 40% water ratio. You'll see here I've laid a thin coat as some of the grey primer can still be seen. I'm being cautious not to fill all that lovely linen fabric texture. On the upper surfaces I'm applying the linen doping colour to a much higher opacity. This will have a profound impact on the next layers, the white and the red coats. When applying multiple paint colours in layers, it's important to plan ahead. Understand how tones affect those tones that will come afterwards. Here the light off-white colour will absolutely boost the intensity of the white and the red and assist them to achieve a much stronger opacity using less paint per square centimetre. And for my US viewers, per square inch. Come on guys, join us with the metric system, it's not evil math, you know. There are several panels in front of the cockpit that will need to be sprayed a flat aluminium colour. So here's a tip when using metallic paints like Mr. Metal Colour. Spray the paint from a distance of about 7 to 8 centimetres from the surface. That's 3 inches for all my American friends. Mist it on, which will force the flakes to air dry onto the surface. Then use a soft brush to brush away those little shiny flakes. The resulting paint effect has the same colour and tone as the paint that you're wanting to use, but it will not have a high shine. Onto the star of the show, the red top coat. I've mixed Tamiya flat red and linoleum dark brown in the ratio as shown on screen. So why not a gloss, I hear you say? Well, there's 2 really important reasons. First of all, red paint is notoriously a pain in the butt to get full opacity quickly on light base colours. It's like the paint guys decided that they'd make red paints a joke in gloss or semi-gloss. Screw you paint demons, I'm not falling for your tricks. Flat paint gives us a lot of control in how they cover a surface, and therefore I can easily control how I sneak up on the opacity that I want without flooding the surface in enough paint to literally sink the Titanic. Something I need to be careful of here is leaving the white patches, which are where the early crosses would have been. The paint used by the ground crew did not fully overpaint these areas with a high opacity, which meant they were visible on the version that I'm actually recreating. For those interested in the details, I'm spraying at 12 to 15 psi here. I want this to be an even coat without the risk of too much overspray. Red is such a pain to clean up. Something that is becoming more obvious as I spray this top coat is how the red changes in tone over the different base colours and surfaces. This reinforces the importance of checking our references. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my patrons. They support me to be able to create content like this. People such as Dave Kelly, thank you for your support each month because it truly makes a significant difference for me. Once I've painted all of the base layers and any modulation effects I wish to use, I spray on a thin layer of VMS satin clear prior to applying decals. Still in flat paint, you can see the subtle variation I've created in the finish. Filmed off camera are the subtle paint effects to highlight the wing ribbing. The peaks left in the base red tone as sprayed, and then I use a slightly darker version sprayed between the ribs after I've masked off those individual ribs using 1mm tape. The machine guns in the kit are excellent, but I wanted to go the next step in detail as I purchased the Spandau MG08 set from Gas Patch Models. These high quality resin 3D printed kits are spectacular in their detail. There is a trade-off, and that is that I need to use the kit supplied feed chutes because they are specific to the DR.1. Still, after painting them with Mr. Metal Colour Dark Iron, give them a polish, and then mount them to the gun mounts, these look sensational. The next item to tackle is the engine cowling. So on Richthofen's plane, we can see the build plate on the side of the cowling and an interesting modification common in his squadron, a locking wire. The build plate was easy for me as it's a decal included in the Quintra 3D decal set which I purchased. The locking wire I'm recreating using a 0.3mm lead wire. So I drill 4 pairs of 0.4mm holes and lock the wire in place using wire loops passed through the cowling, all secured using VMS Flexi 5 CA glue. And that's it for now. I have all the essential base elements completed and we're ready to start weathering prior to fitting the top wing. This gives me clear access to work around the front of the cockpit unimpeded. In the next video, we'll complete the detailed painting, do some of the weathering, complete all the painting and construction, and get ready for the fun part, rigging. So thank you for watching. Please support the channel by clicking on the subscribe button and even post a comment down below. It actually helps promote and build the channel, but I also love to hear your thoughts on the build. Look, I'm an armour modeler and this is a long way out of my comfort zone, World War I aircraft are actually a bit of a pain for most aircraft modelers, so this isn't my usual thing. So thanks for watching and see you soon. The next part will be out very soon.